Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Bonusode.
Welcome to the Bonusode.
Bonusode.
Everybody, welcome back to a Bonusode. This is a pretty cool one because yesterday was International Day of People with Disability, which is the second best day of the year. Because the best day is today. It's my birthday, baby. Very happy. We've got a really cool episode coming up from a global leader as well. But I got to introduce my good friend Angus O'Loughlin. How are you? Where's my birthday present?
Hello, mate. And yes, happy birthday. You don't look a day over 35, 34, 35. You look great, by the way. And thank you very much for having an episode of Listen Able come out, taking away from the big day itself.
Because we have a very cool guest in the house today. We're going global, baby, which we love. And the fact that this person works at one of the biggest, if not the biggest organization in the world and is doing some awesome stuff in the disability, accessibility, inclusion space. We're really excited. We've been trying to line this up for a while. So the fact that we're doing it is awesome. So I'll let this person introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Sarah Herrlinger, and I lead our efforts around accessibility at Apple.
At Apple? I've heard of Apple. Are they a new brand?
I'm glad to hear.
Are they new?
You've heard of them? Yeah. Oh, no. Well, we've been around for a little while, so yeah.
Right. So when we're talking about Apple, everyone, we're talking about Apple, as in Apple, which we love. And the fact that you are doing such cool stuff in the space. Do I also detect an accent?
US based. So born and raised in the Midwest, Ohio girl.
We are currently sitting in Melbourne. How do you find Australia?
I love Australia. It has been 5 years since I've been able to be here because of that crazy pandemic thing that shut everything down, and I have missed it a lot. I really enjoy Australia.
What do you like about it?
Everything. I love the countryside. I love the animals. I have an unbelievable obsession with wombats. So my Instagram feed tends to be friends and people who adopt orphan wombats.
That's weird on your For You. I like that. On your For You will just be wombats and your mates. That's whack.
Totally. I just think they're adorable.
I like that. Now, before we get into the work that you do at Apple, let's talk a bit about you first. How did you end up getting involved in such a big tech organization? And you're from Ohio. I used to live in Chicago in the Midwest.
Oh, yeah.
At the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana.
Oh,
That's my accent.
Yep, I know it.
So you are the Senior Director of Global Accessibility Policy and Initiatives.
Yep.
Americans love long titles. I love it. So when you started Apple in 2003, was this what you were doing straight away? Was it always a passion around accessibility and inclusion, or did you kind of stumble into the role, or what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, well, a little bit of both, in that I think inclusion has always been something that's been important to me. My whole life I've believed that everybody deserves the opportunity to live out their dreams and to do what they want to do and to be treated as a great human being. And so when I got to Apple, I was not specifically in accessibility. I actually started off in product marketing, but I moved to the education division after a couple of years because I come from a family of educators, parents, siblings, everybody. And when I came to the education division, they actually gave me special education as a piece of my job. Mm-hmm. And so I figured if I was going to take it on, I should embrace it and get out there and learn as much as I could. So I went into schools and I started working with educators around the globe, most specifically a group of people we call Apple Distinguished Educators, who are just educators doing amazing things in classrooms and thankfully using Apple technology with which to do it. And I really learned a lot about, the position of students in schools trying to not just survive, but thrive, and how they need strong advocates. And I was uniquely positioned at a company where I could really help that cause. And if I could convince an engineer to build something into our products, I could change kids' lives. So I was completely hooked and started trying to get the company to let me do more and more and more. And I love the fact that Apple is the kind of company that when you show interest in something and a passion, they're very likely to say, keep doing that and do more of it. And how can we get out of your way? So it started me on the path to doing not just special education, but leading accessibility kind of at the 30,000 foot level.
Yeah. Before you got that role, what do you know about disability?
Just some experience in family and in people around me. So, I had a great aunt with macular degeneration. I had a father whose diabetes did some things to him which affected his mobility and sight. And so I kind of, had some family members that affected my understanding what disability was all about.
Do you remember back in those days where technology didn't really play a role, did it? Like in making the lives of people with disability more inclusive and accessible. How did you feel, or how do you feel looking back then, knowing now what we can do with tech for accessibility?
Yeah, I mean, I think I wish that those two individuals in particular had had the opportunity to have more tech in their lives. I think about my great aunt in particular with this giant piece of equipment sitting in the middle of her dining room table that was this magnifier that she would take the newspaper and put it on top of it and then have this big screen, and it would blow up everything in the physical newspaper. And for her, it was a connection to her, her hometown paper, her, giving her that understanding of the world. But when I think about how much we can do on device today and how much it would have simplified her life.
Simplified is an under way of stating it. Like, I'm telling you, how the role that tech plays, obviously I've been a paraplegic my whole life. God, I'm glad I'm born now, right? For the way that I can drive a car. I'm sitting in a 3D printed titanium carbon wheelchair that weighs 2 kilos without wheels, right? Changes my life, like makes my life. I can actually feel like I can be included in most things that I do. And I know the hardware and the things that you produce play a huge role for a wide breadth of people with different disabilities. When you first got given the keys to accessibility, right? How do you cut the cake? How do you decide what you want to do first and have the impact on producers of products within your organization?
Yeah, well, I think our team kind of has two goals every year. One of those is to expand the audience of people who can use our technology. So if we find out that there's someone who, for whatever reason, can't use it or might lose access to it, we want to solve that problem. We always want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to have that, awesome experience of using Apple Tech. The other thing is trying to surprise and delight the people who are already serving. So always making sure that the same way when we have a new operating system, we're coming out with really cool things for everybody, that within our communities, there's something that they can say, wow, they thought of me, they fixed something, they, just made my life a little easier.
How do you figure out what those things are? Do you have a team of people with lived experience that bring them in, or is it trial and error?
It's a lot of different things, but that lived experience is huge. We believe deeply in the mantra of the disability community of nothing about us without us. We never try and build for, we try and build with. So
co-design.
Yeah.
I call it the best.
Yeah. And it starts with the people who work within our own company.
And also say, you don't know what you don't know, and that's okay as well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know a lot of things. People think I know everything about disability. I just don't know what I know. And that co-design is the best way to kind of eliminate that and create things that you might not know that you needed to create.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you get that feedback from so many different places. It can be our own employees that come in with great ideas. It can be organizations with whom we work. It can literally be one email from someone in the world who writes and says, here's my experience. Because we also know that disabilities sometimes come in pairs and triplets. So it could be that someone says, based on my specific circumstance, I really just wish that I could do such and such. And we will look at that one email and go, if we can solve this for this person, we're probably going to be solving it for a lot of other people who just haven't written and told us. So why not?
When do you reckon Apple really started to give a crap about this stuff? Because I love that you do. No, I'm serious, because it is so important. Accessibility, when done right and from the start, is sexy, cool, and people don't even know it's there. The example that I give is, and I go around the world talking about this stuff, and one of the things people love is, text messages. Mm-hmm. They weren't invented to make yours and my life easier. They're invented for people who are deaf so they could communicate. Yep. Everyone goes, whoa, but I use text all the time. Same way voice command on your phone is so a blind person can activate an iPhone. But I also use it when I'm driving a car, right? Or whatever it is, use Siri. And people go, wow, I had no idea. It's actually better business to do it. When do you reckon that aha moment was for the biggest company in the world like Apple to kind of get involved and really commit to doing it in a big scope?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked that question because
that's what I'm here for. I'm all right,
I know. Yeah. Actually, our first Office of Disability started in 1985.
No way. So I was born in 1990.
Oh my goodness. Well, which actually 1990 was also the year that the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed.
Thank you. That was for me. No, I'm just kidding.
Totally. Yeah, they were ready for you.
Yeah.
But I think, that's an interesting thing because our commitment to accessibility wasn't because anybody regulated us to do it. 5 years before there was a law for it, we were already committed to it in the company. And that has really stayed with us through the years. I mean, we've certainly come up at the start with features like sticky keys and slow keys that are available in every operating system in the world today. But over time, we just kept continuing to look at how do we innovate. And so, I think it's been there since the beginning, and we've just kept trying to build on that history.
I love that. And I think the cool part about that is, and I always say this, like the reason you should be accessible and inclusive is because what do I use? A phone, headphones.
Yeah.
So does my brother. So I use an iPad. I use everything, right? And we just want to have the same choice and control as everybody else to live life, but also do cool stuff. And
Totally.
you have the ability to do that.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you were talking earlier about things like being able to speak to the phone when you're driving your car, whatever it might be, we believe that inclusion inspires innovation across the board. If you build for the margins, you make better products for the masses. And so,
Ooh, can I steal that?
Sure.
If you build for the margins, that's so true. If you build for the margins, you make better. That's so true.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the work we do, it has a ripple effect across all of the products we make in general.
I'll give you trademark when I say it, by the way. When I want to, that's actually Sarah's.
And how do you feel when you hear and see people say that Apple are being only accessible to make more money? When it's your job as head of accessibility to impact culture and the accessibility features for Apple and try and be at the forefront of it, but people can't see the fact that it's just good for business and people might scoff at that. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely good business to do it. And there is both the monetary element of disability is the largest minority group in the world. 1.3 billion people on this planet, 16% of the world's population. Why would anyone not want to market to those people and have them as customers? I think there's also, certainly things around when you do it, it's not just the community you're serving as well. There's a massive halo effect. I mean, for those individuals who have somebody in their life who has a disability, and that's everyone, there's often a greater loyalty around companies that actually support the people they love. So for us, we build it in because we just believe it's the right thing to do. And we want to make sure that everybody uses our stuff. But we also, the feedback we get from people who will say, I will never buy a product from anybody other than you because you have made this person in my life's life easier. You've made them feel like they have more dignity and respect because of you, whatever it might be. We just want to be a company that does right.
Yeah, and I think it's giving other organizations and people who'll be listening to this permission to feel that as well. And changing that narrative is so important because it used to be a thing that you had to do because you got to be inclusive because, you get in trouble. It's like, no, you should want to do this, right? Because we make good consumers too. So does my family or whatever. And by the way, was my brother stalking you today at the Apple event?
Yes, there was a gentleman who came up to me and stalked me. And
I'm sorry.
Then I found out his name was Zach.
Yeah, he's taller and better looking, but he also looks like me, which is probably not too bad to say. But
it was a little freaky coming in here and seeing the resemblance.
Yeah, we do. Because there's an event, you spoke at an event today about talking about disability inclusion. What was that about? He was there for that.
Yeah, it was a great event at Optus where we were talking about some work we've been doing with them, some collaborations around accessible homes and kind of the hardware you would have inside your house to make life a little bit easier for everyone. So it's a great opportunity to talk about things like video doorbells connected to HomePods, connected to Apple Watch. So if you're somebody with a disability and you may have somebody who comes to your door, you have a better knowledge of who is the person who is out at your door, but then being able to communicate with them and saying, hey, give me a second, I'm in the back garden, I'll be right out there. So, or other ways that we use technology in the house. And I really love the fact that Optus has their O team out there, really being able to help create customized solutions, going to talk to people in their home and seeing what their needs are before they bring in a whole bunch of hardware, and then being able to set it up and teach someone how to use it.
All right, let's brag about some of the cool stuff Apple has done. What are some of the milestones or product innovations that you've seen over your 20 years with Apple that you're most proud of?
Oh, gosh. There have been a number of them. I think one of the ones that I really was just at the start of, so I can't take a whole lot of credit for the specific design of, but was VoiceOver on iOS. When we built in VoiceOver, which is a screen reader for the blind community, and built it into iOS, it was the first time someone had really made a consumer touchscreen product accessible for the blind community. And it really revolutionized how the community was using touchscreens and technology and cell phones. When we first made the iPhone, it kind of created a situation where others followed us in having a touchscreen as the form factor, and we knew we didn't want the blind community to be left behind. So the amount of time and effort and really thoughtfulness with which we worked on that to make sure that the community would feel safe and understand how it worked was really important to us. So that was a huge milestone for us. Wheelchair workouts.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
Because I always am. I got a watch,
Mhm.
and it was pretty devastating when it first came out that I couldn't really use the wheelchair workout stuff.
Mhm.
One of the problems was when I would push my wheelchair, it would think it would be my heart rate because it was banging on the band, so the heart rate wouldn't register.
Oh.
However, how cool that, and that's okay. Like, you had a crack at
Yeah.
putting it out there, but then after research and making the product better, we created wheelchair workouts, and look at me, I didn't create it, you did. But as a community, the wheelchair workouts and they can actually use that. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah. When we did the wheelchair workouts, we actually worked very deeply with the community. That first year, we actually, the first watch did not have wheelchair workouts. And we got some feedback from people who said, I really want to be able to use this, but it's not understanding that it's just my upper body that I'm using. So we went out and worked with a couple of organizations to really understand not just sort of that algorithm for upper body use, but all the different ways, the pushes that people do, the fact that some people spend all of their time in a wheelchair, some only spend part of their day in the wheelchair, just a million different things about wheelchair users and how they want to, do sports and athleticism and all that. And so we built this in, and when we launched it, it was a huge thing for the community, and I think really helpful for those who just wanted to feel like their means of doing sports was acknowledged.
Yeah, and it's aspirational as well, because it would have influenced people to get out there because they now have a product. How do you feel when you hear things like that? Because I was one of those people. There you go.
Yeah. No, it's huge. And I think even that's another example of one of those things where it wasn't that we suddenly got this barrage of emails from people. There were a few people who wrote and said, gosh, I just wish I could do more. And the team looked at that and said, yeah, we can do better. Let's do this. So I love when it's just even one or two people who can kind of put that kernel for us that makes us go farther.
I should have bloody texted you. Could have been one of those people.
Well, now.
Didn't have your number yet, but now we can.
And what is on the horizon, Sarah, in terms of accessibility? What am I going to see that blows my mind on a future iOS update?
There's so much out there. I mean, I feel like as much as we've moved as far as we have with technology, there's so many things that are still in their infancy. I'm super excited about Apple Vision Pro. I think there's a lot that we're going to be able to do to support disability with that product.
So for the people who don't know what that is, what is it?
It is a new form of spatial computing, which involves a headset. So it's something that is still not yet launched, but coming soon. And the idea is to be able to kind of do the computing you would do with a computer and then some, all by using different types of modalities. So you can run it via gestures, you can run it with voice, you can run it with eye gaze, all kinds of things that we have set up, keyboard. So depending on your needs and the way you want to run it, you've got options.
That's so cool, because when new things come out and they're all the buzz, and if they're not accessible, it can be pretty hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I've experienced that throughout my life. Have you had moments where you put something out and you didn't get it right, and how that affected you?
I can't say there's one where I felt like we really didn't get it right, but I think there's often, once again, in the Nothing About Us Without Us, we love feedback. So, and I think the other thing in our commitment is accessibility isn't something that is a checkbox that we do and then leave and walk away from and never look at again. We're always trying to iterate on things. So there may be things where we make something and go, oh, in version 2, we could add this and it would be so much better. But I think we at least try and make sure that we've listened to the community, worked with them, put something out, and then keep going.
So I'm very lucky to have a platform where I can talk about what I'm passionate about, which is changing perceptions around disability globally. And I always say I really want everybody to copy me and copy what I'm saying. So I'm redundant, and I mean that, right? How do you feel the same way about competitors, or do you want to keep this as competitive advantage? Because, yeah, you are leading the way in it, but there's a lot of scope for a lot of organizations in the tech industry to do better as well.
Yeah, no, I think, gosh, in a perfect world, I think everybody would be doing it. And I would love to see that. You know, I think we try to be leaders and try and lead by example. But that example is something we want everyone to follow. When we work within our own ecosystem with developers, we are constantly talking with them about how to make their apps accessible and how important it is. You know, we don't believe people are just using our specific technology. It is that whole ecosystem that surrounds it. So we do a lot with that, even in other areas for us, like services. You know, when we look at things like Apple TV Plus, you know, all of our content is closed captioned in over 40 languages. It has audio descriptions in 9 languages. We do that kind of to help others see it's possible and hope that when other people are creating content, they're thinking about how do they make that content accessible for others. So, and even, you know, with other companies, we work closely with people. We try and collaborate. You know, I think we always want to be as type A personalities competing and making sure that we're the best. But the more people want to join us in this, the better off we all are.
Like it. I'm type B. So I'm like, let's copy. You know, don't get out there. What would your advice be? So what I, you know, obviously work in industry around accessibility inclusion. And the biggest thing I hear is a timidness to get involved because I don't want to stuff it up, because I don't want to make a mistake. What is your advice to any organization, not just in tech, who want to do better, want to be more accessible and inclusive, but don't want to make a mistake and get it wrong?
Yeah. I think it's the communication with the communities. Don't try and do it on your own. That is the recipe for probably stuffing it up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you engage with communities and approach them with an openness, that's the other piece. You can't walk in and say, I think I know what I'm doing. It's, you know, going in and saying, I'm not sure what I'm doing. I mean, when I started this all those years ago, the biggest thing I did was say, I don't know, help me, you know? And it was down to, in some cases, even what's the appropriate words to say? But I think the biggest thing is going to someone and saying, how do you want to be addressed? How do you consider your disability? What are the things that are important to you? You know, when I'm with somebody who's in the blind community, you don't grab an arm. You ask somebody if they want an elbow, and if they don't, they're good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think it's really treating people with dignity and respect. And when you approach them that way, you get a lot of great feedback. So I think for any company, jump in, you know, go find people who can help test your products, find people who can, you can, you know, talk to about it. Put people in your ads. Do, you know, don't run away from it. Once again, it's 16% of the world's population. Embrace it.
Yeah, we just did a campaign through my foundation called Shift 20, where we partnered with 13 of the biggest brands in the world and replaced all their talent of able-bodied people with disability, because we just want to see ourselves as normal people, as in people with disability, because we do normal things. We eat food, we use Apple products, we use smartphones, we use whatever it is. And it's not about having the representation of other pity, like a car crash victim deterring you from speeding, or from the hospital to the Paralympics, or whatever it is, that inspirational thing. We just do normal things. But for organizations, they're like, what's the point in investing? Because it's like, we don't exist. You know what I mean? What's your advice to anyone who thinks that there's no point because we aren't there and we aren't consumers?
Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. I think that, you know, everybody is out there in the world. They are consumers. They are spending money. They have disposable income. They want to be seen. And when they're seen, I think they become loyal customers. And so I think everybody should embrace, you know, all inclusion in general. You know, we are such a diverse melting pot in this world. And I think it's incredibly important for people to just embrace that and show the world that we're all in it together.
Love it. Keep investing in it. And every other brand, bloody copy this. If you want to be the biggest brand in the world, look what they're doing. They care about accessibility and inclusion. And you're looking for like a global accessibility ambassador, by any chance? I know a guy, washed up Paralympian.
Get in line, mate.
Lauren's laughing from the Australian team. Hey, Lauren. Good to see you.
Sarah Herrlinger, thank you so much for making time in your very busy schedule before you head back home to the States. We do appreciate it.
We'll keep track of what's up next, and keep fighting for our community like you're doing.
Absolutely. And I look forward to the next time I get back here and get a chance to talk with
You
you.
come back on.
Of course.
You're going to do a good job.
Yeah.
Well, you can find this on Apple Podcasts.
Woohoo.
See, get it, plug like that. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.